Welcome to Bacon's Books. This week we will take a look at The Billionaire's Vinegar by Benjamin Wallace. So I really enjoyed the book. It was a pretty fast read, pretty light read. It would be good for the beach or vacation. It was a pretty interesting story, and I really like these sort of books that take me into a whole new world that I had no idea about. And in this case, it's the world of ultra rare, fine vintage wines. And we're talking about wines that are mostly Bordeaux's and Burgundies, French wines, but also wines that are like 100, 200 years old. So there's this whole group of people that get together and they have lots of money and they buy bottles and they share it and they have these amazing tastings and they determine, or they take very studious notes on, which is the best type, the best year, and figure out everything about the wine. This story in particular was about some of the most expensive bottles of wine ever sold at auction. And the reason that they were so expensive was they are, from first growth, extremely rare, important vineyards in Bordeaux and Burgundy. But they're also really important because allegedly they were owned by Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson was, before he was the president, he was the first ambassador, or I think the first ambassador to France. And during his time in France, he spent a lot of time drinking wine. So he developed not only a taste for wine, he obviously enjoyed it and drank a lot of it, but also a really in-depth interest in the agriculture, in the business, and how you make really great wine. Because what Jefferson wanted to do, as a founding father, he wanted to bring that wine economy back to the US, and he wanted to make Virginia like the next Bordeaux. So he went around all of France studying very detailed outlines of how vineyards were laid out and how the crops were tended to, and tastings and all sorts of detailed analysis of the wine economy in France. So the story really gets underway in the mid-'80s. So when this big first find comes of the alleged Jefferson bottles, it comes up, I think the first auction was in 1985. And the bottle sold for $150,000, which is a lot of money, especially back, 35 years ago. Amazing. And pretty soon after the bottle was sold, there became some questions. Is this real? Did you really find the 200-year-old bottle of Jefferson wine? And so that is a lot of what the story is kind of tracking down whether or not these bottles are real. So it was an interesting story because it exposes you a lot to the world of ultra rare and old wines, but also sort of almost a detective story trying to find the truth about these particular bottles of wine. Are they real? Are they really from that time? And did Jefferson really own them? Monticello doesn't really agree. They don't really think it, but there is a lot of evidence that shows that perhaps Jefferson did have the wine. So, it's a sort of a mystery and a lot of back and forth and lots of money at stake. So it's a really interesting story that will expose you to a new world of this wine, these wine aficionados. So with any luxury good, you've all, fake Rolexes or a fake Louis Vuitton purse, there's always fraud and fakes or an issue. And I hadn't thought about it with wine, but it has just the exact same problem, especially when you go really high end, tens of thousands of dollar bottles, because it's really difficult to tell whether or not the bottles are authentic. Because there's only a handful of people in the world that have drank 200-year-old Burgundy. So who's to tell me that if I drank this Burgundy, this is what a 200-year-old Burgundy is supposed to taste like? It's a pretty difficult sell, but that also makes it pretty fertile ground for fraudsters and people trying to make some quick money off of rich people who maybe don't have as refined palate as they think they do. So this book I'll give 3 out of 5 bacons. It was a little bit drawn out, and I didn't need so much of kind of in depth into why a Burgundy from 1921 is different from a Burgundy from 1922. I kind of got the idea, and so the author, I think, was a little bit at some point trying to show like the depth of his knowledge about wine, or maybe that just shows the naivete of my knowledge about wine. But either way, it kind of drew out a little bit longer than I would have liked. So that's why I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 bacons. So thank you everybody for tuning in this week for Bacon's Books. It was a great one, so I think you'll like it. And I just appreciate everybody subscribing to the channel and leaving me comments and following the Instagram. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and it's been fun doing, DMs with people and talking about all these books. Let me know if there is a book that you want to recommend to me. I'm always happy and open to recommendations. Some of you have already been sending some recommendations, so let me know what else I should be reading and how many bacons you would give those books. I think this is probably going to be an industry standard for quality books going forward. So thanks for all those comments, and keep sending them to me. I'm happy to read some of the suggestions you sent. I'm John Bacon. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next video.